From the Ministry of the Presidency in Georgetown, this is This Week with the President, with Janelle Carter.
Welcome to another edition of This Week with the President, a weekly news magazine which provides you with an in-depth look at the policies, programs, and the work of the President of Guyana in his quest to realize the good life. I'm Vinyeta Mishra, standing in for Janelle Carter. In the highlights this week, President calls for removal of inequalities that encourages domestic violence. Italian and Ecuadorian ambassadors accredited a new deeds and commercial registry building to facilitate increased investment opportunities. Gender-based violence has plagued the Guyanese society for decades. Needless to say, the short and long-term effects of this epidemic have created many dysfunctional communities. This matter remains a priority concern for the government, which, through the judiciary, recently partnered with the Commonwealth Secretariat to host a two-day seminar on how the judicial system and the police can better utilize the law to stem this scourge.
I hold strongly to the view that magistrates should be equipped to deal justly and appropriately with domestic violence matters, and that engagements such as the present will undoubtedly serve to equip them in that regard.
This forum brought together key stakeholders in the criminal justice system, government and non-governmental organizations with a view to creating awareness and promoting access to justice for survivors of domestic violence.
This seminar concerns the rule of law. In turn, it concerns equality before the law and human rights. It concerns the right of victims of domestic abuse to be accorded respect and receive justice in the courts. It concerns the fundamental human rights of the right to life, the right to respect for private and family life, and the right to an effective remedy.
Between 2005 and 2014, the Guyana Police Force received a total of 39,566 reports of domestic violence. These shocking statistics were recorded during a period when the nation was experiencing the most intense wave of criminal violence in its history.
Memories of murder and violence are difficult to erase. Buildings in some villages are still marked with bullet holes as perpetual reminders. Children have become orphans. Such violence inevitably migrated from the street into the home.
The President said that people from all walks of life are suffering from the aftershock of the secondary impact of years of criminal violence. What's worse is that many people have failed to understand the repercussions of the troubled years in the country's psyche.
Violence in the home cannot be separated from violence in society and violence in the state. The primary cause of domestic violence is not, as is commonly believed, in my view, drunkenness, drug abuse, or everyday domestic disputes.
The administration remains committed to eradicating domestic violence through the most effective prosecution and implementation of the laws by enacting new laws and ensuring respect and equality for all citizens, particularly women and children. The deeds and commercial registries have a critical role to play in the development of any country's economy. According to President David Granger, the trust to develop greater economic independence demands investments and an increase in the volume and rate of business transactions, which can only be achieved if the impediments to investments and other forms of economic exchange are removed. Against this backdrop, government commissioned the new Deeds and Commercial Registry Office on Friday, January 15. It is located in the former New Building Society building on Avenue of the Republic, Georgetown.
Today, in 2016, we are still in pursuit of real economic independence. We're happy, therefore, this morning to be able to take another step forward, another step towards economic resilience with the opening of this building, which will house two registries. In so doing, we're opening a new chapter in the quest of this administration for a modern legal administrative system, one that is characterized by efficiency, by efficacy, one that will boost our national economy, one that will promote private enterprise.
The delinking of the two registries and the relocation to an upgraded facility is part of a wider project to implement a modern legal administrative system. It is being funded by the Inter-American Development Bank. President Granger said that these two registries, as constituent elements of the national legal administrative architecture, support an essential economic function, noting that they create, preserve, and aid in the enforcement of property rights.
Property rights create order within an economic system. The legal protection of property rights acts as a safeguard against arbitrary and capricious and sometimes criminal deprivation and dispossession of property. The absence of property rights risks throwing our economic system into chaos. It would create an army of pirates who have no respect for law, no regard for the ownership rights of others. As a former publisher, I can tell you how dangerous such piracy could be. The state must protect property owners and property rights if there is to be orderly economic development.
He further stated that property rights must be supported by an administrative system that is characterized by trained, competent, and unbribable staff, efficient and friendly services, and a highly computerized system.
We are now in a modern era, and the management of these two registries must aim at the complete computerization of their entire system. No more loss of documents due to fire and flood. And of course, sticky fingers.
Meanwhile, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Mr. Basil Williams, in his remarks, said that this development will facilitate business and encourage investments, which are key to the government's overall development thrust.
That I'm very confident that these two registries will benefit the people of Guyana and also contribute to the welfare, well-being, and a good life for the Guyanese people.
It is hoped that this facility will serve as an impetus for higher levels of investment and generate employment.
A centralized facility will make the work of the registry more manageable. Both general public and the staff will be better accommodated. It demonstrates Guyana's commitment to promote commerce, trade, and development. Investors in Guyana should be encouraged that the operations of this building will have a positive effect on commerce and the promotion of investment and export development prospects, and will make the work of making Guyana as an investment destination easier.
Speaking on behalf of the Guyana Bar Association, Attorney-at-Law Mr. Christopher Ram challenged the registrars of the two registries and the Attorney General to ensure that the operations of this office are computerized and made accessible online, adding that today, old ledgers and their portfolios are only good for museums.
There is no reason in this day and age why someone has to travel miles, sometimes spending endless hours to access records. Put the records online and save time, money, and inconvenience of staff, the public, and their attorneys. Go further and make the systems amenable to online filing. Indeed, these two registries can show the way to the High Court and the Magistrate, which themselves cry out for modernization 50 years after independence.
To this end, Deputy Registrar of the Commercial Registry, Mrs. Rukmini Bijlal, in an invited comment said that the registry has been working to ensure that all records are digitized. Presently, more than 3/4 of the documents in the care of the registry are updated and available online.
Most of our records are digitized, most of it. And we're looking at going online. That is in the process, that's in the making. But right now our trademark system is on the iPass, which is in the entire Caribbean. It is the automated intellectual property system, which we use to do the searches on the trademarks. We're up and running with that. Also, our business names and companies are also generated through a system, the Jasper system.
According to Mrs. Bijlal, while the registry always performed to the best of its ability, the lack of space and comfortable working environment at the previous office hindered its operations. However, she is optimistic that with the move, the public can expect to see changes in the coming months.
One of our main goals is like meeting deadlines. Basically, we have a full complement of staff and they're tediously working. Over there, we were kind of cramped for space. We have our space now, and we're much more comfortable. The staff much more motivated because they have everything to they have their own desks. They have every computers, which is accessible, and they're being able to do their work with much more, up to speed. Basically, our objective is to really meet the needs of the persons out here and be able to get everything within a period of frame time period.
Although Guyana has achieved the United Nations Millennium Development Goal 2 of universal primary education, a large percentage of the nation's children are still unable to complete primary and secondary schools simply because their parents cannot afford to support them. As such, hundreds of children drop out of school annually to take on menial jobs to support themselves and family, making them easy target for exploitation or ready prey for criminal gangs and drug traffickers. In light of these circumstances, President Granger issued a call to the nation on his 70th birthday last year for support of government's initiative to enhance the lives of children through education. The President's request for school boats for children in the Pomeroon evoked a national response with donations of, to date, 5 boats and engines, 2 30-seater buses, and hundreds of bicycles and shoes which have been distributed to students in need across the country. Students of West Coast Berbice were the recent beneficiaries, welcoming 2 school buses. The buses were donated by a number of prominent Guyanese businesses as well as persons from the diaspora. The 3Bs initiative, administered via the Ministry of Social Cohesion with support from the Office of the First Lady, continues to blossom with pledges of more buses, boats, and shoes from corporate citizens and individuals both locally and from the diaspora.
If we are to produce a generation of leaders to take control of this beautiful country, we cannot accept a situation in which every single month 400 children are dropping out of school. And that is what is happening in Guyana. Every month 400 children drop out of school, and most of them drop out because their parents cannot afford to keep them in school.
The program exemplifies Guyanese generosity and is the most fitting example of the positive results that can accrue when corporate community, central government, and individual citizens work together for the good of the nation.
We want to make sure that every child can go to school, because education is going to unlock not only that child's career, not only the future of this region, but the entire country. We are, and we possess the most resources of any Caribbean state. I've said it over and over again. We're the biggest, the most beautiful, and the most bountiful Caribbean state of all. But we only have to look around to see so many of our citizens living in poverty. Why? Because many of them do not have access. Many of them do not have the opportunity. And once you give that child the opportunity, once we give all of our children the opportunity, you'll see how quickly this country will develop.
As has been proven by countries like Singapore and Taiwan, an educated population is the main driving force behind economic prosperity. Countries with highly educated human capital are more productive and innovative. In contrast, less educated countries tend to be plagued by unemployment, have large impoverished populations along with a high crime rate and low levels of productivity. What does the president do all week? Let's take a look inside his diary. President Granger inducted 2 ambassadors during the week. His Excellency Rafael Quintero, the new non-resident ambassador of Ecuador to Guyana, pledged to pursue stronger bilateral relations between the two countries. Similar sentiments were expressed by His Excellency Silvio Mignano, Guyana's new non-resident Italian ambassador. These appointments are in keeping with the government's thrust to enhance Guyana's international profile and to establish ties with nations with similar investment interests.
Over the last 60 years, Italy has supported with a sincere sense of purpose and commitment the efforts aiming at the European regional integration. That is why we look with great interest and expectation at the initiatives which have been taken through CARICOM and the other regional organizations towards increasing cooperation and integration in the Caribbean region.
Guyana and Italy established diplomatic ties in 1967 and have since cooperated at the bilateral and multilateral levels.
Your appointment provides an opportunity for Guyana-Italy relations to be enhanced further in the near future. There is much scope for cooperation in various fields, particularly in agriculture, public health, public infrastructure, and public telecommunications.
The president also met with members of the interreligious organization who informed him of their planned program for the observance of World Interfaith Harmony Week.
We were discussing with our president World Interfaith Harmony Week, which is held every year. It's UN designated from the 1st of February to the 7th every year. Guyana was one of the countries that had signed onto that proclamation and voted, as a matter of fact, at the United Nations. And the King of Jordan had made this proposal to the UN, and eventually it was passed. And we in Guyana have been observing it every year since 2011. Every year we've been observing it, and we'll also be doing the same thing this year. We're calling on all the various religions to come together, find common ground, to work together so that we can promote a culture of peace and harmony in our country.
In addition, he met with the members of the Guyana Deliverance Temple, who invited him to participate in their 40th anniversary program, and 2 directors from the Princess International Group who pledged to donate a bus to the 3Bs program. Did you know that the man who sits in the highest office in the land is also a big chess enthusiast? Well, he is. And even though he rarely gets a chance to play anymore, President Granger remains passionate about chess, which he described as a game of pure skill during an interview with Mrs. Lloyda Garrett from the Ministry of the Presidency. Playing the game over the years, the president has picked up quite a few tricks along the way.
It doesn't matter how many pieces remain on the board. Even if you capture a lot of my pieces and I capture your king, I win the game.
That brings us to the end of this edition of This Week with the President. Thank you for joining me. For regular updates on the Ministry of the Presidency, go to our website www.motp.gov.gy. Like our Facebook page, Ministry of the Presidency, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MOTP Guyana. Thank you for watching me. Do have a safe and productive week ahead. Goodbye.